Miete Music Go Round, the used music store that stopped spinning. In 1986, when MTV still played music videos and compact discs were the shiny new technology promising to revolutionize how we consumed music, two entrepreneurs in Minneapolis had a brilliant idea. Tom Borders and John Kuntz founded Music Go Round as the musical equivalent of a consignment shop, creating a franchise model where customers could buy, sell, and trade used musical instruments and equipment. The concept was elegantly simple. Musicians constantly upgrade their gear, leaving behind perfectly good instruments that other musicians desperately need but can't afford new. Music Go Round would be the middleman, taking in used equipment on consignment, cleaning it up, and selling it at prices that made music accessible to everyone from bedroom strummers to weekend warriors. The first store opened in the Twin Cities, and within a few years the distinctive circular logo and promise of making music affordable began appearing in strip malls across America. By the early 1990s, Music Go Round had grown to over 150 franchise locations, becoming the largest chain of used musical instrument stores in the United States, with annual system-wide sales reaching $50 million. The timing seemed perfect for Music Go Round's expansion throughout the late 1980s and 1990s. The music industry was experiencing unprecedented growth, driven by the transition from vinyl to CDs, which convinced millions of consumers to repurchase their entire music collections. This created a massive influx of used equipment as recording studios upgraded to digital, bands traded up to better instruments, and home musicians accumulated gear faster than they could use it. Music Go Round stores became treasure troves for bargain hunters, offering everything from entry-level acoustic guitars for under $100 to vintage amplifiers that might have graced famous recording sessions. The franchise model worked particularly well because local store owners understood their markets intimately, knowing whether their customers were more interested in country music gear, rock equipment, or jazz instruments. Each store typically carried between 2,000 and 3,000 items, from harmonicas costing $20 to professional drum kits worth several thousand. The company's buying guides helped standardize pricing across locations, ensuring a Fender Stratocaster would be valued consistently whether you walked into a store in Ohio or Oregon. Music Go Round also pioneered the practice of offering immediate cash payments for equipment, rather than waiting for items to sell on consignment, which proved incredibly attractive to musicians needing quick money for rent, new gear, or tour expenses. The franchise system that initially drove Music Go Round's success also contained the seeds of its eventual problems. While the parent company, owned by GrowBiz International, provided marketing support, training, and operational guidelines, individual franchisees made their own decisions about inventory, pricing, and local marketing. This created significant inconsistencies in customer experience, with some stores becoming beloved community fixtures while others struggled with poor management, inadequate inventory, or unwelcoming atmospheres. Unlike corporate-owned chains where headquarters could quickly identify and fix problems, Music Go Round's franchise model meant that struggling stores could damage the brand's reputation for months or years before losing their franchise rights. The company's rapid expansion in the 1990s also meant that many franchisees were new to both retail and the music industry, lacking the expertise needed to properly evaluate, price, and market musical equipment. Quality control became increasingly difficult as the chain grew, with some stores accepting damaged or stolen equipment, while others turned away valuable vintage pieces because staff couldn't recognize their worth. By 2000, despite having nearly 200 locations at its peak, Music Go Round was already showing signs of strain, with franchise turnover rates climbing and customer complaints about inconsistent service becoming more common. The music industry's seismic shifts in the late 1990s and early 2000s created new challenges that Music Go Round struggled to navigate. The rise of the internet fundamentally changed how musicians bought and sold equipment, with eBay launching in 1995 and quickly becoming a global marketplace where sellers could reach thousands of potential buyers instead of just local customers. Specialized websites like Harmony Central and later Reverb created online communities where musicians could research equipment values, read detailed reviews, and buy directly from other musicians without paying retail markups. Music Go Round's business model depended on information asymmetry, customers not knowing the true value of their equipment or what alternatives were available elsewhere, But the internet eliminated these advantages almost overnight. Simultaneously, the music industry itself was contracting due to declining CD sales, illegal downloading, and changing consumer preferences, which meant fewer people were learning instruments and buying equipment. Guitar Center, Music Go Round's primary competitor, responded to these challenges by consolidating the market through aggressive expansion and competitive pricing, eventually growing to over 260 stores with massive purchasing power that allowed them to offer new equipment at prices that competed directly with Music Go Round's used gear. The rise of online retailers like Musician's Friend further eroded Music Go Round's competitive position by offering vast selection, detailed product information, and convenient home delivery that small franchise stores simply couldn't match. Music Go Round's attempts to adapt to the digital age revealed the limitations of its franchise model and aging infrastructure. While some individual store owners created websites and embraced online sales, the company lacked a unified e-commerce strategy that could compete with dedicated online retailers. Each franchise operated essentially as an independent business, making it nearly impossible to create a comprehensive online catalog or offer features like nationwide inventory searches that customers increasingly expected. The company did launch a corporate website in the early 2000s, but it primarily served as a store locator rather than a genuine e-commerce platform, reflecting the technological challenges faced by a franchise system built for the pre-internet era. Music Go Round also struggled with inventory management as the used equipment market became more sophisticated and efficient. Professional musicians and equipment dealers began using online resources to research values and find the best prices, meaning that truly undervalued items disappeared quickly from Music Go Round stores, often purchased by resellers who would flip them online for higher profits. This left many stores with slower-moving inventory that represented poor values compared to online alternatives, creating a vicious cycle where knowledgeable customers shopped elsewhere while only inexperienced buyers frequented the stores. The company's attempts to modernize its point-of-sale systems and inventory management were hampered by the need to coordinate changes across hundreds of independently owned franchises, many of which lacked the capital or technical expertise to implement new systems effectively. The economic recession of 2008 delivered a devastating blow to Music Go Round's already weakened business model. Discretionary spending on musical equipment plummeted as consumers focused on essential expenses, while simultaneously, more people looked to sell their instruments and gear to raise cash during the economic downturn. This created a perfect storm where stores were flooded with inventory just as customer demand collapsed, forcing many locations to dramatically reduce their buying prices or stop purchasing equipment altogether. Franchise owners found themselves trapped with expensive leases, high inventory carrying costs, and rapidly declining revenues, leading to a wave of store closures that accelerated throughout 2009 and 2010. The parent company, GrowBiz International, was simultaneously struggling with its other retail concepts and lacked the resources to support Music Go Round franchisees through the crisis. Many longtime franchise owners who had built successful businesses over decades were forced to close their stores, liquidate their inventory, and walk away from their investments. The closures created a downward spiral effect, as each shuttered location reduced the overall brand recognition and made the remaining stores seem less stable and reliable to potential customers. Industry publications began running regular stories about Music Go Round closures, further damaging the brand's reputation and making it difficult to attract new franchisees or retain existing ones. Technology continued to evolve in ways that made Music Go Round's traditional business model increasingly obsolete. The rise of social media platforms like Facebook and Craigslist created new venues for local equipment sales that bypassed retail stores entirely, while smartphone apps eventually made it possible for anyone to research equipment values, post listings, and arrange transactions without any intermediary. Music Go Round had built its business on the premise that musicians needed a trusted local expert to help them buy and sell equipment, but technology was rapidly making that expertise available to everyone for free. The chain also failed to capitalize on emerging trends in music education and online learning, which created new markets for entry-level instruments that nimble competitors were quick to serve. Companies like Guitar Center began offering rental programs, online lessons, and comprehensive beginner packages that provided everything a new musician needed to get started, while Music Go Round continued to focus primarily on traditional consignment sales of individual items. The rise of music production software and home recording technology also reduced demand for some categories of equipment that had been music go-round staples, such as 4-track recorders, analog effects processors, and other gear that was increasingly being replaced by software alternatives. By 2010, many music go-round stores looked like museums of analog music technology, filled with equipment that represented older ways of making music rather than the tools that contemporary musicians actually wanted. The final chapter of Music Go-Round's story played out between 2008 and 2010 as the combination of economic pressures, technological disruption, and structural problems within the franchise system proved insurmountable. Grow Biz International, the parent company, filed for bankruptcy in 2008, leaving Music Go-Round franchisees without corporate support just as they faced their greatest challenges. While some individual stores continued operating independently after the corporate bankruptcy, most lacked the resources and expertise to survive as standalone businesses in an increasingly competitive market. The Music Go-Round brand, which had once been synonymous with affordable musical equipment across America, simply faded away as store after store closed its doors and liquidated its inventory. Unlike some retail chains that collapsed dramatically with widespread media coverage, Music Go-Round's demise was gradual and quiet, noticed primarily by the musicians and music store employees who had been part of its community for decades. A few former franchisees attempted to continue operating under different names, but without the brand recognition, shared marketing, and operational support that had made the original concept viable, these efforts largely failed. By 2010, fewer than 20 Music Go-Round stores remained open, scattered across the country as independent operations that bore little resemblance to the cohesive franchise chain that had once dominated the used music equipment market. Music Go-Round's rise and fall offers valuable lessons about the challenges facing retail businesses in an era of rapid technological change. The company succeeded initially because it solved real problems for musicians, making quality equipment affordable, providing a trusted venue for selling gear, and creating local communities where musicians could discover new instruments and connect with fellow players. However, the same technologies that eventually destroyed Music Go-Round, the internet, mobile devices, and digital marketplaces, solved these problems in different ways that offered greater convenience, selection, and value to consumers. The franchise model that enabled Music Go-Round's rapid expansion also limited its ability to adapt quickly to changing market conditions, as coordinating changes across hundreds of independent operators proved far more difficult than simply mandating new policies from corporate headquarters. Perhaps most significantly, Music Go-Round's failure illustrates how businesses built on information advantages can become vulnerable when that information becomes freely available to everyone. The expertise that Music Go-Round store owners possessed about equipment values, market conditions, and product quality became less valuable as customers gained access to the same information through online resources, reviews, and price comparison tools. Today, the used musical equipment market continues to thrive, but it's dominated by online platforms like Reverb, eBay, and Facebook Marketplace rather than physical retail stores, proving that while the demand for affordable music gear remains strong, the methods for connecting buyers and sellers have been permanently transformed by digital technology.